took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history. Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Osogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works Obakoso, Obawaja and Moremi took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television. Western Spring Television, ours it is.
Good morning to you, Nigeria. Good morning anywhere around the world you are viewing us from. If it is morning around you, we'd like to welcome you once again to the Thursday edition of Morning Spring coming to you live from Western Spring Television. We're super excited that you actually slept well. Yeah, I did. But then at times it happens where you lose sleep, and because you know that you're coming to work and you need to come and give the very best to our esteemed viewers out there. But be that as it may, as much as there's life, we'll keep doing the needful. Thank you for joining us always on Western Spring Television, the station that says it as it is. TUNDE IDOWU is my name, at Irresistible TD on X. Welcome, and it's a pleasure.
All right. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, world. Good to have you here. Join us on the program today on Morning Springs on Western Spring Television. This is what we do here every day, analyzing, critiquing, giving to you these issues of public importance that you need to know, you need to be a part of. That's what we do here at this time. But, you know, to know, anytime you talk about, you mention your handle at Irresistible, I wonder, what's the purpose? Why are you always, you know, putting it in capital letters, in italics, and then underlining Irresistible? Simply, okay, irresistible. All right. All right. And then when you say on X, you know, you have to let the people know. Oh, yeah. Many persons are not still used to it. Fact that Mr. Elon Musk has changed the face of everything. So when you're saying X, some are still wondering. Honestly, what do you mean by X?
You know, it's one man I follow on Twitter, and him and Mark Zuckerberg are coming in for a cage fight. What's wrong with these millionaires? Yeah, billionaires, not just millionaires. You know, just before we came on the set, we were just having the conversation that, you know, it's the social media blogs platform, like Twitter, X now. You know, for some of these guys, yes, it was acquired for billions of dollars, but it's appearing to be more like a plaything for them. They just wake up and just tweak something and just show that you're the ones in charge. You have to, you know, by the way, it's the reality of the revolution going on in the ICT world and in the world as well, definitely. Femi Ojo is my name. It gave me great pleasure to welcome you on the program today. We go through the papers as usual, and then we get talking on something very important that has to do with life. The sanctity of human life. The people provide the support, the care, the treatment, you know, maintaining our health, giving us good advice. These persons, this group of people, appears to be in a daggers drawn fight with the people in charge. So we speak to people involved directly. You don't want to miss this program for today, but very shortly we'll go to the papers right now. Let's kick things off at this moment in time. Just the papers that we have are readily available. Let's start with the stories making the round from Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper is with us, and amongst other dailies here, the big bold caption from the pages of the Punch newspaper has that story concerning our neighbors, the Niger Republic. Niger Republic. You have that story there. It says UN, AU, ECOWAS meet on next move. NSCIA warns federal government. Then obviously you have that picture. That's okay. There is a rider there first. Major decisions expected at Abuja meeting. Ex-Kano Emir Sanusi meet junta leader Tiani, and also Nigerian rebels vow to restore the post-president. Coup leaders accuse France of fueling crisis. You have the picture of the former Emir of Kano there with the military junta, the leader of the military junta, who seized power in Niger Republic. Dialogue, we've said it on this program amongst all the programs that I think the best way to go is through negotiations, dialogue. So we don't throw the country into jeopardy. We don't throw the country into chaos where there will be loss of lives, destructions of property, and so many things. We just hope with the dialogue, the former Emir of Kano State, His Royal Majesty Sanusi had with the junta military leader there would resort to something good, and then let's have peace
instability in Niger, amongst other countries of the world. Let's move on this morning quickly on the top strip still of the Punch newspaper. FG may stop customs, NPA, 61 agencies from collecting trillions in revenues.
Yeah.
Wow, what does that mean?
I think it's coming on the heels of the tax reform committee put together, you know, by the president, you know, and people who know President Tinubu knows that it's part of his strategy to have a robust tax collection policy that happened in Lagos State as well, you know, and that's why he has put together that team, and I think it's part of their recommendation. And I think they are recommending that the FIRS should be the best place to, you know, be in the forefront of collecting these taxes. I think that's the reason why.
Wow. Looking at that, I really want us to see, probably one of these days, we'll look at someone who will come to give us total clarity as to how this will be successful. Because if you're giving that to an agency alone, what happens to customs? How do they generate funds? How do they remit funds? All these things, customs, what have you, MPA, because billions of naira come in through this set of agencies. But if you're now shifting the entire, I don't want to say burden, because it's going to be large forever to everywhere around this country.
I think there will be a framework, you know, that we coordinate. There will be a structure that will be done. Don't let's PM them. All right. We hope they will come up with a workable framework so that we don't have to be back at the same point. We're trying to live of multiple taxation, multiple agencies doing almost the same thing, and then possibly the remittances is not really what it should be. Possibly. We'll keep our
fingers crossed. We'll keep our fingers crossed. And still staying with the Punch newspaper on the top strip there. El Rufai, Wike meet Tinubu over ministerial confirmation. I've still had to wait in years as well. But then coming to the bottom strip, FG to spend 341 billion naira on judgment debts. Then the red strip there says 4 Amotekun officers dismissed for indiscipline. That's credited to the Ondo commander there. Cooking gas prices will rise next week, says marketers. I think will. Not
even May.
So I have to go refill this later today. I think that's the best thing. That will be all from Punch newspaper from me.
All right. We'll go to The Guardian now. The Guardian for today. We have boldly written there, for The Guardian, in the middle, you have long road to peace as ECOWAS, coup leaders maintains positions. That's for The Guardian. Long road to peace as ECOWAS, coup leaders maintain position. You have the picture, of course, of His Eminence Sanusi Lamido Sanusi on one hand with President Tinubu, and of course on the other picture you have him with the military junta leader, General Chiani, there yesterday. It's all about mediation. And just like we have said severally here, no war, no battle hands on the field. He still has to go to the round table.
Exactly.
The Georgia part is where we are in now, not necessarily the war part. Okay. And just above it, you have these not so exciting news. Dollar breaks 900 naira per dollar ceiling. Heads to 950 per dollar at alternative markets. Wow. After flouting all the forex and everything, he's where we are. And I think that's not good news for manufacturers, for many persons who transact business, especially with the forex. And this has a ripple effect on the economy, definitely. Customs enforces presidential directive on the Nigeria-Niger border closure. Okay, moving on. NNPP chairman tackle Kwakwanso, say party not another Kwakwansia group. Okay, I think some persons are kicking there because there's hobnobbing of Kwakwanso with the government in power. So possibly their feeling is just using the party as a bargaining chip or two. Okay, just above that, We have Reps orders AGF to produce IPPIS officer, queries AMCON and the budget office. Okay, you need that. You have to go through that paper. Okay, and at the bottom strip, you have while extension of UTME result validity impracticable by Oloyede. You know, JAM, the UTME is only for a year. The moment you don't use it that year or you are not given admission, you have to write the next year. Okay, and the Professor Ishaq Oloyede is saying, given the reasons why the extension is not practicable now. Okay, to the story written in the red column there. Time to end bloodletting in the southeast.
Everywhere, even everywhere.
Little one that was written in red. It's talking about bloodletting in the southeast. Okay. And beside that, Oyedele seeks comprehensive review of tax laws. Of course, that's the man in charge of the tax reform in Nigeria right now. And he's saying he's seeking comprehensive review of the tax laws. That's all about the Guardian front page for this morning.
And quickly, I'll go straight to Daily Trust newspaper. Virtually all these stories have the same headline, but differently pasted. Let's just reel through some of them here on the big bold caption from the pages of Daily Trust newspaper. Naira inches towards 1,000 Naira to $1 at parallel market, and you have that rider there. Sells for 925 Naira in Kano, 917 Naira in Abuja, and 890 Naira in Lagos. Falls 19.8% since Forex unification. Official window no longer reflective of the market dynamics, and we need to work on supply side of Forex. That's credited to the CBN there. You can see that the map of Nigeria with all the analysis as put together there. Please, you can check it out. Then on the bottom strip of that same story, Sanusi meets Niger military leader, briefs Tinubu. We told you that it's common to virtually all the papers. And Akpabio under fire over comments on senators' holiday enjoyment allowance. I looked at that yesterday and I was like, I don't know. The other day, Senate President spoke about those in support of let the poor breathe. I'm wondering
which many persons interpreted to be a mockery. Of the poor people. Of the poor people. Of the people complaining about the reality of our economy, of the standard of living right now, the cost of living of the Nigerian people. You know, when I saw the video yesterday, two things came to my mind. Was it intentional? You know, because definitely the Senate President knew the pressmen were there. It's an open plenary. It's not a closed door session. So definitely you know that that will make a news. So when he said that, and some people grumbled, kind of grumbling, and somebody walked up to him, and then he now said, I'm retrieving what I'm saying, and what I'm sending to you now is prayers. And, you know, many persons saw that as was his intention. But then on the other hand, the Senate President, his personality and character, it can be a witty person. It can be a funny, humorous.
I think he was trying to be humorous.
You know. But then you now talk about the timing.
Not at this time.
Many persons don't want to hear
Not at this time.
Are you joking? Do you mean this?
Exactly.
Do you just want to rile up people? Do you just want to get them angered? Because definitely, even if you are you're saying you're addressing the plenary, you know the media is there. Many of them are, you know, transmitting that plenary live. The National Assembly has a TV. So when you are seeing that, for me and for many persons who have opined on the matter since yesterday, sounds insensitive.
Very well. I support that because I looked at it myself and I felt it was trying to make a mockery of the fact that, look, whatever it looks like, my guys are going to enjoy themselves on holiday. We'll send money to you guys. You guys can go wherever you can go.
And then towards the end of the day, we now got to be seeing some statistics about how much they will have to
collect.
And then you see that that kind of money is not really what you call a big deal. But mentioning it there at this time,
it shouldn't happen.
People's ears are up.
Absolutely.
They don't want to see or hear something that has to do with distribution of money, and you know, the toga being won, you know, or put upon the National Assembly by the perception, through the perception of the Nigerian people of being overpaid, is not really going away. So when you are not talking about they having these things, even if they have to have it, even if it's within their rights to have it, must you mention it at that point?
Quickly here, still staying with the Daily Trust newspaper, FIRS set to take over 63 agencies tax collection mandate. That's credited to the Presidential Committee. 2 arrested for raping, infecting girl with hepatitis in Jigawa. Amazing. These are some of the headlines we have for you from the different papers that we have been able to reel out this morning. But let's get down to the discussion of what we intend doing this beautiful Thursday morning. The National Association of Resident Doctors have called off their protest, but the strike is still on. Why have they done this? What are their demands? What is the level of compliance by federal government? Have they been able to reach a consensus? What do we need to know? We'll be discussing this very shortly with the president of one of the association in the Southwest right here. Please stay with us. It's the Morning Spring from Western Spring Television.
Hilas Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in the deference to his qualities as founder and leader of 2 foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 naira coin bears his oval face and trademark moustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history. Kiriji War, also known as Ekiti-Parapa War, was waged among Yoruba main ethnic groups which emerged from the ruins of the falling Oyo Empire that were desperate to replace the awesome powers hitherto wielded by the Alaafin of Oyo. The Kiriji War is defined as a conflict of confederacy and unitary political system championed by Yorubas of different socio-economic and political interests. The Ibadan military aristocrats felt they deserved a dominant position for saving Yoruba land from being totally submerged by the Fulanis by their victory in Osogbo War of 1840 and Ijaye War of 1862. Kiriji War, that took its name from the booming motor sounds of European arms, festered for so long because the Industrial Revolution in Europe provoked high standards of slaves. The 16-year Civil War also caused the emergence of new powerful kingdoms like Ibadan and the rise of powerful personalities like Oluyole, Ogunmola, Kurumi, Latosha, Shodeke, Fabumi and Ogedengbe. One of the fallouts of Kiriji War was the birth of creative political and leadership structure in Yoruba land that was a blend of federalism and autocratic monarchical system. Western Spring Television identifies Kiriji War as a watershed event.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeoye Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on StarTimes.
Just as we told you earlier, and we stated the fact that the National Association of Resident Doctors have decided to call off their protest, but the strike continues. But this isn't not radiating amongst all the hospitals across board at this point in time. There are some of the hospitals that, hey, they're still working, and some of them are still off strike, and some of them are on strike at this moment. But let's get clarity as to what is happening, most especially when it comes to the National Association of Resident Doctors. What are their demands? What do they want from the federal government? What are the negotiations looked like in the last couple of weeks or days before now? We are definitely going to be joined via Zoom this beautiful morning, all the way from Ile-Ife, by the Deputy Editor of Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Nana Fayowole Olabanji. Dr. Olabanji, good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Where are we? the protest has been called off. The strike continues. Where are we? Why? What are the things you are demanding? Where are we in general? Please tell us.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, as you rightly alluded, the protest has been called off, but the strike is still continuing. This is because nothing has been achieved in the real sense, other than meetings upon meetings upon meetings upon meetings. So, but we've always shifted ground on our own side, giving governments and its agencies, representatives, time to just do the needful, and that's why we had to call off the protest, especially when we had intervention with the Senate President, as well as some inner caucus of the President at the Anufor. And on Friday or thereabout, 2 or 3 days ago, so that's why we said, okay, let's extend some sort of goodwill to them, and hoping that they will make do with their promises.
Okay, let's take it from the scratch. Doctor, what exactly are the demands? How did we get here?
Well, unfortunately, these demands are chronic and recurrent. A whole lot of them are chronic and recurrent. And this is because we have been making the same demand for a long time. But unfortunately, when we shift our swords and go back, everybody will probably decide the negotiation table, and nobody is called again until there's another round of a threat or strike or Astra disputes. In this particular one, we have our 8th demand, and we have said that, come on, government meets this 2 out of these 8 demands that we know you can do within 24 hours, because most of them are the 2 we actually felt that are very urgent. There are things that don't need extra things to do before they come in, but we just wonder why reluctance. Apparently, government is the one perpetuating this dispute, so to speak. Some of the things we are demanding for is that we know that there's serious dearth of doctors and clinical workers, nurses and co in the country, and we felt that we've been shouting and singing this, even the government on their own side. Recently, they organized a Zoom thing with some doctors abroad, like trying to appeal to them to come back. Who does that when you people who are at home, who have not even traveled, have not even are going through a whole lot of harrowing experience? And I think it just seems as if they are shedding shadows. Because one of the things we are requesting for one-for-one replacement. Those that have left, can you please, if 2 persons have left this hospital, can you please replace the 2 with available ones? Nobody says that should be difficult to do, but they find it very difficult. Unfortunately, there was a president committee on brain drain that has submitted its recommendation since February on this one-for-one replacement. Let government put a circular to it so that managers of different hospitals can be empowered to make recruitment. On this particular one, my hospital is also suffering because the management has actually recruited some doctors, about 40 of them or over, who haven't been paid for 7 months just because they didn't have this permission to do what they have done. And if you don't have permission, you'll be deprived of salaries. And that's why they've not been paid. In fact, the OUATHC has been on strike even before the national strike. And one of the other things we're also asking for is the residency training fund. It's a yearly ritual. And this is being budgeted. It's not that they're looking for money elsewhere. It was captured in 2023 budget. And for them to approve for it to be released, and it's not for fun. These are meant for training, and we have 2 sessions of this training in a year: April, May, and November, October. Some had even spent this money in April and May, while some had even used it to register for similar exam in October, November. And this is what we are crying for it to just be released what you have appropriated for in the budget. It's not just not there. And another thing we're also asking for is why should we be writing the same exam with other West African countries, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and all that? And we'll come here, our Medical and Dental Council will downgrade the certificate we get from that. And we know the torture we go through before we can even pass these exams. So we're asking for explanation. Why will you downgrade the specialist grade certificate to just additional knowledge? Okay. Who does that? we said reverse this, but then it's becoming a Herculean tax to government, and which is very funny to us. And some other thing we're also asking for is arrears, accumulated arrears. You wouldn't even believe that some of these arrears, one of them they will say, especially the skipping arrears, they will tell you that it's in court. Only for us to realize just recently that they never even appealed this. So they just kept us waiting for almost 10 years, telling us that is in court, that they are appealed, that they can't discuss what is in court. And when at the last memorandum of understanding, when they were mandated to get the file number and this, we want to actually know where this was filed. They now realize that nothing was even in court in the first place. So we now realize that they're even trying to even file an appeal against the judgment after 10 years. This is how they have kept us on the same spot, not addressing what they ought to have addressed for a long time. And some state tertiary institutions also are being treated in a very poor manner, which we also try to canvass for. But luckily now, we have improvements in some of the responses from state, especially Osun State is responding well, Ogun State, Delta State, Kwara, I'm also aware Kwara is also doing the same. Benue had even paid MRTF for 2023 when federal institutions are still struggling. I can count about 4 or 5 states that have paid what we are at federal level are also clamoring for. But it's a good news to us because usually it's federal that pays all of this and the state languishes. But luckily now we have some states who are responding, and we can only encourage more states to follow suit. Okay. So those are some of the demands we have tabled before the government and countless number of times, but then it's surprising that they are not even doing their part and there are no consequences for job not done for them.
Right. Dr. Nana, please hold on. Also joining us at this moment in time is the President Association of Resident Doctors, Fayowole Awolowo University Teaching Hospital, and he's also a senior resident in medical microbiology and parasitology. It's a pleasure to have Dr. Anthony Anufor join us as well. Dr. Anthony, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good morning.
Glad to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
President, Dr. Anthony, let's take your reaction as well from your own view here. There is this 25% that has been rejected by your association, and this 25,000 allowance by the I think this is what is being proposed by the federal government. What is that demand? How much are you demanding? How much is the association demanding at this moment in time? Let's first of all clear it out and let's know which way forward. Probably if government is short of cash, they are short of being able to employ so that they don't owe. That's why they're saying, look, let's start from this point. But talk to us first of all. Why did the association reject the 25% first of all?
Right, thank you. Well, it's a far cry from what was being requested. Basically, what the association is requesting for is for restoration of salaries. But the last time the salaries were reviewed was in 2009, which was implemented in 2014. And that's close to 10 years ago, and over that time, a lot of things have changed. So what we're asking for basically is restoration to what it was as of 2014. And when you take a couple of factors, you do the maths, it amounts to close to over 500% of what we are currently receiving. So now saying you want to just give up 25% of one aspect of that, it's really a far cry from what we are asking for. It's a far cry from what should be expected, basically. So that's basically the basis for the rejection.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, what's the way forward? The Senate President had come in to intervene, but it seemed as if, okay, well, we'll just call off the strike, the protest, but the strike continues. For how long will this look like now? Yeah, Dr. Nana, please. Or Dr. Anthony, please. Sorry. Dr. Anthony, please.
Well, no one likes to go on strike, but again, when you're pushed to the wall, there's only so much that you can do. So, well, the demands are, everybody knows what the demands are. We've been signing it over and over and over again. So I think the government should just pay attention to what is being requested for. You know, no more delay tactics or trying to go around. Address these things sufficiently, and then I'm sure you'll see as much industrial harmony from our end, and there will be peace in the sector.
Yeah, you know, staying with the latest that we're hearing, as reported in the news by your national president, the Dr. Emeka Orji, saying that, okay, the protest will stop, but the strike continues. The question is, how does this help the Nigerian people? How does this help the patients? Because in the middle of this, your association is trying to fight for what you think, what you deem is yours. Definitely, the government are stating their part, you're stating your part as well. But then the middle of this is the Nigerian people, the patients. Some of them dying, losing their lives. We know you have the oath that you have taken, definitely, and you are doing your best to uphold that. But then, where does this leave the Nigerian people? Because after the negotiations are done, and possibly the government gives you what you want, the lives that have been lost, the injuries that people have had that have not been attended to because of your services that have been suspended, how do you quantify this, Dr. Anufor?
Well, like I said earlier, no one likes to embark on strike action. It's quite unfortunate that we had to resort to what we had to do. Again, even we who are on, the doctors too, who are on industrial action also have consequences they are suffering from the strike. I mean, we also have some consequences as well. So why we only plead with the Nigerians to, well, bear with us. Again, it's sad that this has happened, but we should also prevail on the government to try to do their best to reduce the incidence of such actions, basically. It's sad, but it's what has happened. I think that's all I can say about that. Probably there's another have something to say.
Yeah. Still speaking on behalf of Nigerians now, because the media is the mirror of the society. Some will say, okay, you are doing this, getting the best for yourselves, duly so, if I may use that word. But some will say, some of your members going on strike, it doesn't affect them like too seriously, because some of them say has other private hospitals, private entities in which they work in. So I'm still sticking with the Nigerian people's part, because you are saying they should bear with you. Somebody who has lost relative, loved ones, how can they bear that? Okay, it's only the government facilities that you are not working in. Some of your members say find their way to practice in private facilities as well. So when you're going on strike in government-owned institutions, that doesn't stop your practice in private institutions. So for Nigerians that cannot afford, these services from private institutions, where does that leave them, doctor? Still speaking about finding a balance and, taking Nigerians, thinking about them in this negotiation.
Yeah, thank you for that question, which we often get most times. And I must reiterate once again that strike is never a convenient option for us. It's usually at the tail end when we have no options as to what else to do. And the truth is that the strike actions is just to limit some of the dangers that patients and patient relatives go through. But as a consequence of the strike, if you have 2 persons dying, meaning that if the strike hasn't occurred, or if you are not agitated for some of these things, we'll probably be having 10 persons dying. And it's also true that we are immune, because I also have a colleague that I contacted me that lost a relative as a result of this. We also have feel the impact. But then when you are left with no option, that's not a very convenient option for us. And I'm sure we are also aware of a doctor that died from an elevator crash. I'm telling you, several reports and also happened, nobody responded. And that is the way the health system is treated, public health fertility in particular, that is the mirror in which they are being examined by the government. And it's very unfair. And in fact, the colleague was on a major television station was recounting the whole ordeal where the multi-parameter facility they have could not even read her parameters. Imagine a doctor that works in that hospital dying and then her parameters could not even be read by the... That is the fate of every other patient that comes in that. And each time we shout, we are shut down because it doesn't really we think it doesn't affect us because we shout for this. If we don't shout now, this Lagos State health system is under mirror because somebody had died. Can you bring the person back? How much person would have died if not of the profile of a doctor that died that's now making the whole news? So that's the problem we are dealing with. If we don't shout, nobody shouts for us. And nobody comes to the hospital to ask the doctor that how many hours have you been working? Whether you are tired or not, nobody wants to know. And we are recording deaths and fatigue from our members because of this burnt out, and then the fact that they don't have enough equipment to work with, they don't have enough staff. So one person is meant to do the work of 6-7 persons, and then nobody cares. Whenever the patient is in the hospital, it has to be sorted one way or the other. And then it's better to reassess yourself. Will you rather be at work, tired and be a danger to patient, or take your leave while trying to agitate and then patient is safe? Because if at any point I mismanage patient, nobody will take it. Nobody understand the part that I was overworked, I was stressed out. That was why I made the mistake that led to the death of a patient. But rather they would not take it on me and I want to go for my certificate and license. You understand? So that is why you have to examine yourself. Psychologically, a lot of people are not balanced. A lot of people are depressed and they feel that this needs to change. The public all want to be crying for us, who want to see this, because when they come to the hospital and see that the waiting time to see a doctor is increased. It's not just increased, it's because there are not enough persons. And you cannot rush through a patient because you feel that you want to see 10, so as you just see this one in 5 minutes and leave. You may miss out a major diagnosis that you should not, and then to count against it because it's recorded that the patient has seen the doctor who didn't recognize that particular ailment that had caused a major morbidity and mortality for this patient. And the same way, you have surgeries being cancelled severally, and this is what we are fighting for, because the patient and the public itself had refused, the media had refused to shout out until we are making a case for ourselves and the system. We are dealing with, because ideally I have no business being on the road. In fact, it was the escalation of protest was because of the annoyance that we are getting from the parent ministry. If you people are on strike, you have not done a single item that you have the power to do. You say you cannot sign anything, but you have the power to say, okay, let me just write and threaten them with no work, no pay. Who cares? People are down already, so nobody is afraid of your. I'd rather stay alive than not have salary than be at work and die because somebody is being negligent at his work. So we are very considerate about our patient, and we want to go back to work as soon as possible. That's why we are not insisting that all the demands should be met. We are limited them, and even when we had discussion with government side, the senator, Senate president, it was marveled that why did we have to go on strike when these things can be sorted? So that's why it's amazing, and that's why if at any point we just take our foot off the pedal, they just go back to sleep, and again we come back again that okay, we realize that they have not done what they said they could have done. And that is why we keep having this in circle. Unfortunately, it is not a convenient thing to do. We understand and we want to, as much as possible, go back to work. But then the only person that is reneging on their own agreement is the federal government. Imagine the one-for-one replacement. A committee has been said, concluded the last memorandum of understanding that was signed in May after our 5-day warning strike. It was specifically put there that on or before 5th of June, the circular for one-for-one replacement will be out. We are in August, for crying out loud. Why is it not out? No explanation. And nobody is held accountable.
Gentlemen, doctor, let me talk to both of you at the same time at this moment here. The federal government have said no work, no pay. Where does that leave you guys? Dr. Anufor. Boy. Okay, Dr. Anufor, are you there? Okay, Dr. Nana, can you hear me?
Yeah, that was even very funny. I can hear you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
In fact, protest was never on our table before. But we had to escalate when we got that funny circular. your parent body, you haven't done what they're supposed to do. All you want to do is just to threaten people with no work, no pay. And we try to add protests, go to the street to explain ourselves to the common man on the street. Maybe and then they feel threatened that it won't be nice. The optics will not be good if you have all your doctors on the street protesting on something that actually be averted. And that's why it's an undue provocation. That's how we see it. And when we're not taking it lightly, and then we hope that it doesn't get to, otherwise you're just going to mess up the whole thing. Thank you.
Yeah, but I remember during the last administration of President Muhammadu Buhari and the former Minister of Labour and Productivity, Senator Chris Ngige, he actually stood his ground concerning things like this: no work, no pay. We saw what happened with ASU. Even though ASU, they were on strike for like 8 months, and he stood his ground. Don't you think such a thing can emanate at this point in time as well?
Well, government has all the powers to implement whatever they say they want to implement. But the thing is that we are not deterred, because you have to, before you implement no work, no pay. So what's the punishment for work done and no pay, no salaries? We have centers who are on strike for being owed 7 months salaries. ABIA has been over 24 months of work done and no salary being paid. So what's the consequence of all of that? We don't have any of those things, but then that is what they do to frighten people to going back to work. But then it is a defeatist attitude, and that thing government should go that route, and because it worsens the issue. In fact, the truth, to tell the truth, at every time we have to come out on a struggle like this, many more people make the decision to leave the country. In fact, with the no work, no pay, I'm sure a whole lot of persons will probably make the decision that these people are just not serious, they're not taking the health system serious, they're not taking patients, and the common man who cannot afford overseas travel, who accesses the public hospitals, they're not taking them serious. So apparently, they just feel it's not a comfortable environment to work in. And that's why we have the exodus of health personnel. And it's just going to be worsening by the day with the attitude of government if they don't change. But we see it as a threat and as an undue provocation, which we wanted to react to, but with the intervention of the Senate President, we feel that we can also share our protest and then allow the interventions to just go through.
Okay. All right. The conversation is still on. At this time, I'm going to have Dr. Anthony back. We'll go on a short break right now, and when we come back, we begin talking. Still Morning Springs on Western Spring Television.
Arrested, affected, sound, found. What do we see? What do we say? Flowing from a spring. A fact A to Z. Check and confirm. Ever expounding current events. Traveling down from the business gist to the globally arising happenings, to the sports news, to the bittersweet infos. Guided transmission, even diffusion, vast and fast, detailed facts are fled. Within seconds, nuggets of words that flew across borders are fired. Stories short and long, wrapped in bundles of words, broken and dissected as it is, except misheard. This is the news as it is.
Sports is a culture on its own. It has its own language, its own people, with their own way of life. The world of sports is never void of actions, stories, dramas, and scandals. I guess you need a sports show that can walk the walk and talk the talk.
On this show, we answer all your sporting questions. The whens, the whys, the wheres, and even the what ifs. Sports Spring is that show that will give you that new lease of life you've been looking for in sport journalism. Join me, Joseph Atewe,
and your sports Amazon, Nengi Ernest.
On this station, Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Let's talk sports. Let's speak the most universal language of the world.
The 1914 Amalgamation Treaty is synonymous to the birth of Nigeria. Frederick Lugard, a British Army captain and an outlaw who struck gold in Africa, became the instrument used by destiny to make it happen. The amalgamation of Nigeria was designed for economic reasons by the colonial administration to offset Northern Protectorate budget deficit by Southern Protectorate surplus returns. The amalgamation had ad initio created imbalance in the economic political structure of Nigeria and was responsible for the persistent hiccups in the efforts to forge a united country till today. Nigeria's amalgamation was labeled as the mistake of 1914 by native northern conservatives who neither wanted it nor contributed anything significant to its sustenance. Western Springer Television identifies with Amalgamation Treaty of 1914 as a watershed event in history. Born Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905, Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues, brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in the multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. The Berlin Conference of 1884 defined the configuration of Africa, which hitherto existed as a continent of multiple kingdoms and empires under native rulers. The conference, otherwise referred to as Congo Conference, regulated European colonization and trade in Africa as initiated by German leader Otto von Bismarck. The Berlin Conference is often called the scramble for and partitioning of Africa, as each of the imperial powers carved separate portions of the continent for themselves without recourse to racial and cultural identities and differences. 137 years after the Berlin Conference was held, Africa remains a legitimized playground for European nations that sought to exploit its wealth and resources and manipulate its human capital to promote trades and investments of Western powers. Western Spring Television identifies Berlin Conference as a major event in history. James Ajibolaige was a lawyer who obtained his first degree in classics from Nigeria's premier University of Ibadan. Born September 13, 1930, the orator and the polyglot spoke impeccable English, French, Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba languages. His fine diction placed him among classical orators and public speakers like Cicero, the Roman orator. This attribute earned him the prefix Cicero of Esauke. He authored Kaduna Boy, an autobiography, Detainee's Diary, Constitution, and The People, among 6 other books. Bolaige was a colorful politician, elected governor of Oyo State in 1979 and appointed a federal minister in 1999. He was a pioneer founder of Afenifere, the Yoruba social, cultural, and political group. He invested his political sagacity to propel the group to the height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria. Bolaige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bolaige as a watershed character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the Earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire took off with overseas possessions and trading posts established by England, spread over 3 million kilometers between 16th and early 18th century. Like previous empires, the British Empire began to crumble on its weight of overstretched territories and growing unrest in our various colonies. Today, the British Empire no longer exists. What is in place is the Commonwealth of Nations, a loose association of sovereign states which recognize the King of England as the titular head. Western Spring Television identifies the British Empire as a watershed empire in history. Dramatist, playwright, and icon of Yoruba thematic arts, Duro Ladipo was born December 18, 1931 in Oshogbo, southwest Nigeria. His clergyman father christened him Timothy. His other names, Duro Dola, Duro Shomo, Duro Rike, reflected his persona and the circumstances that surrounded his birth. The legendary stage actor had in several public fora identified himself as one of the greatest abikus born to die in this world. Family records reveal how he was born and died 13 times. The intertwining names he bore thus lent credence to his spiritism. Duro Ladipo was one of the best known and world-acclaimed Yoruba dramatists to emerge from post-colonial Africa. His notable works Obakoso, Obawaja, and Moremi took him beyond Africa to several parts of the world. By the time Duro Ladipo died on 11 March 1978, the Nigeria's first cultural ambassador had acquired a towering image as an artist whose works adorned the frontage of Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. Western Spring Television identifies Duro Ladipo as a major character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Funmilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Ololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Funmilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history. Hilas Olayinka Herbert Macaulay, politician, nationalist and journalist, was the first Nigerian to qualify as a civil engineer, surveyor and architect. Born on November 14, 1864, Herbert Macaulay was the founder of Nigeria's National Democratic Party, the first political party in pre-independent Nigeria. Scholars of Nigeria's political history describe Herbert Macaulay as the intellectual bulldog of 19th century Nigerian nationalist movement, in the deference to his qualities as founder and leader of two foremost political parties, Nigeria National Democratic Party (NNDP) and National Council of Nigerian Citizens (NCNC). His matchless versatility in party organization and control kept the British colonialists on their toes in the entire span of his active life. After his death on 7th May 1946, Herbert Macaulay remains a hero of his country, which recognized his anti-colonial struggles. Today, Nigeria's 10 naira coin bears his oval face and trademark moustache. Western Spring Television identifies Herbert Macaulay as a major character in history. Kiriji War, also known as Ekiti-Parapa War, was waged among Yoruba main ethnic groups which emerged from the ruins of the falling Oyo Empire that were desperate to replace the awesome powers hitherto wielded by the Alaafin of Oyo. The Kiriji War is defined as a conflict of confederacy and unitary political system championed by Yorubas of different socio-economic and political interests. The Ibadan military aristocrats felt they deserved a dominant position for saving Yoruba land from being totally submerged by the Fulanis by their victory in Osogbo War of 1840 and Ijaye War of 1862. Kiriji War, that took its name from the booming motor sounds of European arms, festered for so long because the Industrial Revolution in Europe provoked high standards of slaves. The 16-year Civil War also caused the emergence of new powerful kingdoms like Ibadan and the rise of powerful personalities like Oluyole, Ogunmola, Kuromi, Latosha, Shodeke, Fabumi, and Ogedengbe. One of the fallouts of Kiriji War was the birth of creative political and leadership structure in Yoruba land that was a blend of federalism and the autocratic monarchical system. Western Spring Television identifies Kiriji War as a watershed event.
Turn it up! It's the Wild Wild West, and Western Spring Television is pulling out all the stops to make sure that you don't miss out on every of the fun and happenings around you. Yup, we've got you covered because your girls got all the juiciest tidbits and entertainment news from around the world. Cross over to the chocolatey side of entertainment. Join me, Chocolate Cassie, on Eccentric as we take you into every bit of the juiciest news, fashion, music, movie updates, and other trending conversations. Together on the show, we'll get personal with your favorite celebrities via phone call, Zoom, or even live here in the studio. Eccentric will be shown on your TV screen on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Here are 5 amazing fun facts I bet you never knew about Christianity.
Number 1, there are over 2.4 billion Christians worldwide.
Amazing fun fact number 2. The Bible is one of the best-selling books of all time, with more than 100 million copies sold every year.
Most Christians believe in heaven and hell.
The Bible is the most translated book in the world, with more than 3,000 languages.
Amazing fun fact number 5. Most Christians throw science out of the window without realizing that most scientists are Christians. Hello, I am Pastor Steve Akinwumi.
And I am Dr. Adeoye Oyewole.
Join us as we highlight and discuss day-to-day issues pertaining to the day-to-day living of every Christian.
Issues in Christendom shows every Sunday on Western Spring Television, channel 190, only on Star Times.
Evelyn Ohiole,
Hi.
King Eve. How are you today?
I'm good, I'm fine, I'm alive.
I really feel like she's not giving the right answer to the question. When one asks you, how are you? And you said, you're saying, I'm alive. It's very annoying, seriously. How are you? I'm fine. I feel I'm fine will be the right answer instead of I'm alive. Not that I asked you if you're dead before.
Go and check all these 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, everybody, they are extraordinarily sexually active.
I feel is being unnecessarily hyper when it comes to the issue of sex, because we talk about other topics and it feels...
All right, here we go. Thank you for staying with us. Sincere apologies. We had to just clear some technical hit from the other side of network. But Dr. Nana, I wanted to say Dr. Nana Kufo. Dr. Nana is still live with us via phone. We'll be joining him via phone. And Dr. Anufor Anthony is still live with us on Zoom. Gentlemen, thank you for your patience and understanding. Let's just continue with the show at this moment in time.
All right.
Okay, let's just go.
Dr. Anufor,
can you hear
me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay, great.
All right.
Dr. Nana,
quickly, Many have talked about the medical tourism because at different times through different governments in the past, possibly to the ones that we'll be having now, although we don't have that information yet about them, public officers, politicians, leaders, thanks, whenever they feel ill, sometimes they travel out of the country to access medical service, and many have touted that one to be maybe one of the reasons why they don't take the medical doctors, the health sector in Nigeria very seriously. What is your association doing to hold these persons responsible so that they take the health sector in Nigeria very seriously? And if there are talks ongoing, because we've seen possibly protests here and there with people carrying placards, maybe your members saying the leaders must stop medical tourism. So your take on that, do you believe that's the reason we have not really gotten it right as far as the health sector is concerned in Nigeria? And what is the NARD doing about that?
Yeah, thank you for that. I believe the fundamental issue here is, let's say, poor infrastructure. The government has been doing what they can. And that's why we are advocating, basically, for the government to increase the budget allocation to health. If they can do that, it will mitigate all the issues of tourism. There will be better infrastructure. Because we have the personnel on ground have the capacity to man these things. What is just lacking is that they're not there. So once this infrastructure is in place, and one of the ways can come in place is facing the budget allocation for health, or in other instances, public-private partnership, just to have these things on ground in the various institutions in the country. So I think if these things are on ground, then definitely the quality of service that will be provided will be way better. So that's what we are advocating for. Let government increase budget allocation. I think there was a meeting a couple of years ago, I think about 2001, where it was allocated that at least 15% of the budget should be allocated to health. I mean, so far, we've not even seen maybe close to half of that. So I believe if they can do that, increase the budget allocation to about 15% that is allocated for, then there will be better infrastructure. This will mitigate medical tourism because of the better quality of services rendered.
All right, for the want of time, Dr. Nana, please put us through what is the latest. When next are we meeting with the federal government? What is negotiation going to be like at this moment in time?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. At the last time we met with the leadership of Senate, they made some commitments in terms of promises that were time-bound. In fact, we're looking at 24 to 48 hours for some of the things that they were putting in place to start materializing. But we gave ourselves 72 hours, that after 72 hours, then we'll be able to reassess how they have come through with their own end of the bargain. And so we're trying to monitor some of the things that they have tried to set in motion. So as soon as we have a signal, a ray of light, we'll probably converge and then make decisions going forward.
Yeah, the parent body of all the medical doctors in Nigeria is the NMA, Nigerian Medical Association, and we are hearing that they are intervening in this matter. What's the level of intervention of the NMA?
We are even on the same page with NMA because we are first NMA before we are NARD members. So there are some things that is an umbrella body for all doctors, so anything that concerns us apparently concerns them as well. So the issue of comments review is being handled by NMA, and they are taking appropriate steps as to address it the way that will be suiting to everybody. And the other aspects are things that they felt that governments could easily do and they're also adding their voice to the pressure on government to do the needful, so that to avoid the prolongation of the needless strike in the first place. Because the strike was avoidable in the first place. So even if it was avoidable and was not avoided, now that the ideal thing was to ensure that the strike was short-lived. But what we also always have is that government on the outside just go to sleep until they decide to scale up things again before they start running scatter. Or sometimes they won't bring us circular that won't make matters worse. But they're also adding their voice, because the circular for one-for-one replacement, they know if on daily basis we have obituaries on doctors' WhatsApp pages announced by NME, and we have an idea of what the issues are. What is killing people at their prime. So, and it concerns everybody. So they're also with us on one-for-one replacement. They also cannot see reason why the government wouldn't pay the MRTL 2023 has budgeted.
All right.
And they can't even find any reason why the accumulated arrears cannot be resolved, cannot be paid. So because there are not objections to any of these things. That's why they kept signing MOUs, because they were not forced to sign MOUs. They were things that they think they can achieve. But who is sabotaging the process is what we don't know. And because there's a culture of this attitude of not punishing people for wrongdoing, especially in the ministries. So that lackadaisical attitude is just there. So whoever is causing this issue now will probably go scot-free, but has ended up making a lot of people suffer for actions that are preventable in the first place. So on this, NME is with us, and then they're also adding their voice to ensure that government will do the needful, and then this strike is prevented from going on further.
All right, Dr. Nana Olabanji, if you can answer these in a minute, because we're coasting home gradually now. And we've been talking, you know, the shelved protest, the strike action still ongoing, seems to be more about the federal government. How culpable are the states, or these things that we're talking about, does it affect the federal government-owned institutions or the doctors working with the federal government alone? Are the states doing well on their own?
As the name is Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. It covers all doctors in residency training, from house officer, medical officer, and those in residency.
Dr. Nana, so that you get it clearly, because it seems, it appears the grievance is against the federal government. That's why I'm asking.
No, it's across board. Because once you have a struggle like this, every state is supposed to domesticate it and to address their own peculiar needs. In fact, when Osun State was able to get the attention of Mr. Governor, when we had the warning strike in May as regards the 2023 MRTF, MRTF has never been paid to doctors in Osun, whereas those in federal institutions have been enjoying it since 2020. So every state will domesticate it based on their peculiarity. In Kwara State, they were not even on any consolidated medical salary scale. It was a very terrible situation, but with the struggle, they had gotten the attention of the governor, who has also tried to also implement, tried to bring about comments for them, hazard allowance review, as well as paying MRTF to them for the first time. So, and that is how, because we know that each states are different, so we try to individualize these issues.
Okay, is Osun clear? Osun State, is it clear? Are you in the clear?
Hello?
Osun State, as a government, are they doing what the NARD wants?
Osun State as a government?
Yes.
You mean? Yeah, the truth is that we know that the states are different. The capacity of Lagos State, Rivers State, Delta State are quite different from what Ekiti, Osun, and all that can pull through. But then we appreciate appreciable understanding from government, and then attempt at doing some of those things. Like when we had the warning strike, the government met with our members in Osun Teaching Hospital, them out here for them, approved hazard allowance to cross across board, not even only people in the University Hospital or resident doctor in University Hospital. So that is a step in the right direction. So they might not be doing everything, but then we don't scale all states on the same level. Right. But when we see that there's commitment on the part of government, we're very reasonable and we look at situations, and then more often than not in our community, we try to appreciate and call out those who are doing well for appreciation, and those who are doing badly, we call them for reprimand. Right. So those are the things how we address state teaching hospitals.
All right, Dr. Anthony, before we call it a wrap on the show this morning, please let me ask you, there are some of your association members at different hospitals who are not on strike. I don't know if that's true.
To the best of my knowledge, no, that's not true.
Oh, great. So everybody is in this together? Together we stand?
Yes.
All right, then.
Federal, states, it's a collective struggle.
All right. Gentlemen, we'd like to thank both of you for taking time out to be with us on the show this beautiful Thursday morning, and we wish you the very best. Thank you for taking time to do negotiations. We really appreciate that aspect of negotiating rather than causing a little bit of power tussle, because before you know it, some miscreants can take over the protests. But we appreciate your time on the show with us this morning, Dr. Nana Fayowole, Olabanji, and also Dr. Anthony Anufor. Thank you, gentlemen. We wish you the very best, and we hope the federal government will listen to your plea and do the needful with you and your association.
Thank you.
That will be the show this morning. Thank you to our very esteemed viewers on all platforms, and for those who are watching us on all our social media handles. And if you don't know, we are live on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which is now known as X, right, at Western Spring Television. We will be back again tomorrow, Friday, for the Friday edition of the program. TUNDE IDOWU is my name, at Irresistible TD on Twitter.
All right, thank you for your time. Today, the program has been Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Please do join us tomorrow, God willing, at the same time. Femi Ojo is my name. God bless Nigeria. Bye-bye.
Ìjọ Nàìjíríà ọmọ kó wá bọ́ o, bó o ṣe fi sí bẹ́ẹ̀ náà lọ wà, omi adágún ni kò yíra padà. Bí mo ṣe ń bọ̀ yìí, àti Yaba mò ń bọ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ bọ̀dá Táyé, ẹsẹ̀ mọ́ erin débí. N ò lówó tí fi wọkọ̀, kí n tó kú òlé gan wọ́n ti múná lọ. Àbí ọ̀tàn, n ò tí ì jẹ kankan di bí mo ṣe wà yìí. Ebi ń pa mí, ìyà jẹ mí. Kásì, ebi ń pa mí kì í ṣe mi nìkan. Ẹkún tí mi sùn kì í ṣẹ́kù èmi nìkan. Ẹkún gbogbo Nàìjíríà ni. Ebi ń pa wá, ìyà jẹ wá.